Welcome to the Builders Coach. So my name's Kurt Hegetroller, founder of Builders Coach, and I'm here with Jessica. How you doing, Jess?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Welcome back, everyone. So today, Kurt, we've got a busy agenda. A few questions I've got for you today, all around productivity.
Fantastic.
So, but before that, you've just come back from Melbourne. You did your second Buy Back Your Time boot camp.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about it. How did it go, and how was your week?
Massive week, really busy week. As you know, leaving for South Africa on Sunday. So that week before you go on holiday, always frantic, trying to get things done. But it's been good, man. Really productive, feeling great. Melbourne was fantastic. Great group of people, fantastic presenters. And the day after Melbourne Cup. So kudos to the guys that showed up on the Wednesday.
Yeah, that was ballsy to do just after Melbourne Cup.
Exactly. And then like Tuesday is a public holiday there. They literally take the day off for a horse race. And then most people take Monday off as well. So they had Monday off, Tuesday off, and then they took Wednesday off to spend a day with us as well. But beautiful venue, Fordham's offices, and big shout out to them. Thank you. And it was a great event. So it was the rinse and repeat of the Sydney event, Buy Back Your Time. So big focus on time management and a lot of workshopping. Just guys sharing steel, sharpening steel. It was great.
Awesome. Look, I want to kick off today with a question that's going to tie back to your event. And it's really, what do you see with your clients, but specifically in the industry? What are the biggest productivity killers?
Productivity killers. It's fascinating because in preparing for the Buy Back Your Time bootcamp, that one-day workshop, I had to CAT scan all our processes and systems and really look at how they impact on freeing up time. And in doing that, I came to the realization that attention management is potentially more important than time management. So attention management is just focusing on, what specific tasks are the highest value tasks? What are your dollar productive tasks? But also just your headspace, your mindset. And there's mental and emotional friction that a lot of people have just because they don't have a good morning routine. They've got a lot of negativity with their thought process. For example, someone meets with some prospective clients, everything goes well, they submit the quote, and then they follow up and it's crickets. They don't get any, there's no return phone calls or emails. And then they assume, and everyone like listening's had this happen, right? You just assume the negative. Oh, they're working with another builder. They're not working with me. I screwed up when I said that. They really wanted to do so, blah, blah, blah. And then, oftentimes the people contact them later and go, oh, we're going ahead. We were just really busy. The kids were sick or whatever it is. So no doubt that's happened to you. And meanwhile, you burnt up all that psychic energy, the mental and emotional energy and any negativity you can carry over into other meetings with clients and teams, and that can affect, results. So, what you think about, where focus goes, energy flows. Yeah. So just having a process, what's the process solution for that? So we're talking about morning routines, guys doing breathing exercises. A lot of guys are doing breathing exercises these days. Even just banging out 20 push-ups, like manipulating your neurochemistry through exercise is one of the best things. In fact, peak performance is directly related to physical fitness. Like there's a direct correlation there. You cannot be a peak performer if you don't have a certain level of fitness. And interestingly, most of the guys in the room in Melbourne on Wednesday were mentally and physically strong and healthy, which was great.
Just after the Melbourne Cup there.
Melbourne,
I'd imagine it was a healthy guys over there.
That says it all. Yeah. So sorry. So to go back to your question, so were they, what did you ask me? Were they wasting time?
Yeah, I thought productivity killers, and obviously you're talking a lot about mindset and not letting negative thoughts take control of you. But I would imagine also just being inefficient in some areas of the business would be a big one.
Absolutely. So that was just the mindset side, which, like I said, in reviewing all the things that we talk about and teach, as they relate to time management, it was fascinating that did come up, the attention management. But within that, attention management is around the application of the Pareto principle or the 80-20 rule. So 20% of the things you do give you 80% of your results. And it's the same with your systems in your operations manual. 20% of the systems give you 80% of your results. And then with your team, hopefully they've got job descriptions, their roles and tasks, 20% of the things they do, right? So those 20% of activities are what you want to focus on. So there's your attention. Is your attention on those activities? Have you systemized that 20% of activities? And then are you monitoring performance in those areas as well? Do you have performance reviews, KPIs, and also systems and training development as it relates to those activities?
Yeah.
And then if you extrapolate it further from a time management perspective, like today on a Friday, you should really plan next week. So look at your calendar, look at all the appointments you've got coming up through the week, and you should be blocking out time for the KPI activities. So those 20% high value dollar productive tasks. Mm-hmm. So we actually went through an exercise with the guys in Melbourne and in Sydney where we looked at all the roles and tasks for a building company. We had a flow chart of tasks basically, and the guys were highlighting low skill, low fun tasks that they could potentially outsource. And I was speaking to a guy this morning who had already done that exercise. So he was doing like a tier 2 version where he actually had his office admin lady with him at the event, mm-hmm. and he was looking at tasks that she could free up to people on Upwork or to someone else that could then free her up for him to hand her tasks that he's doing that are high value. You know what I mean? So filtering it down that way.
Nice. That's great advice. And actually it ties completely with my second question. I was going to ask you around, what are some of the key strategies? But I think you kind of mentioned already the 80-20. Do you have any other quick tips for our listeners?
Yeah, well, one of the things that came up was, what happens when you plan your week, like I just described, right? And you don't want to plan every minute of every day. That's just absurd. KPI activities. So you have cocoons of time and you block out maybe 90 minutes or 2 hours to work on a quote or to have a meeting with a prospective client or with your team or whatever it is to go through the financials. And what happens when you get pulled out? Because inevitably you're going to get if you've got kids, you get a phone call from the school, hey, your kid's sick. That literally happened on Wednesday. A guy was like, hey, my kid's vomiting, I've got to leave. So he raced out the door. So what happens then? Well, that's why it's good to know what that 20% of activities are so that you can, there's a couple of options. You could have people on your team trained to fall back onto those tasks. And I think we spoke about it on a previous podcast, what if you go to a restaurant, it's your 30th birthday, you're there with 12 of your friends, and then the chef has that situation. He gets pulled out. They don't just say to you, sorry, you're not getting your food tonight, party's over. Yeah. They will have someone else that steps into that role. You don't even know it happens, right? Yeah. So that's an option. Otherwise, if you can't have someone replace you when you're not there, you carry those tasks over to the next day. Mm-hmm. And then the way to stay on top of things and make sure nothing gets missed is stand-up meetings, which we've spoken about as well. So what happened yesterday? What happened today? What are your blockers? With the leadership team, do those every day, 10 or 15 minutes a day. And they work exceptionally well. Yeah.
In the corporate world, we call it the contingency plan. What happens if you got an emergency, basically?
You turn up on a Monday and 3 people aren't there, 3 key people.
So you got a contingency plan in place. You would always have that, whatever, the task or the functions. And then I was just going to say, from my personal experience, I've been trying to block time in my calendar. And I find that actually is quite effective. I know it sounds a bit silly sometimes, but really just being able to freeze up some time. And then I get a reminder on my phone. It says, I was trying to do a training. I'm trying to complete a training. And then it comes up, Thursday morning at 9 a.m. Oh, don't forget to do your training. And I was like, oh yeah, I'll block some time out for that. So sometimes it's some easy things or simple things that just help you just a little bit more and get you to do or complete some of the sometimes more tedious tasks.
Absolutely. And it's the things that are easy to do that are easy not to do, right? Like a to-do list. And I found putting your to-do list items, some guy told me this, put your to-do list items in your calendar. All right. So you're going to see it. It's like an appointment for you to get that thing done. And then you can add a layer of automation where you've got everyone does it now, where you get your notifications. Yeah, exactly. Which I reckon that was a thing, actually switch notifications off on your apps and the news feed, unplug from the media. On I know you've had a go at me for like being on X and that sort of thing. Like it's addictive, man. You get sucked in.
Yeah, but it's because I find out that I do too. Like even if I'm concentrating on something, you know, on my laptop, your phone is constantly like little notification, and we get so conditioned to just have a look at it. Like, oh, what's happening? Oh, what is this? And it's nothing. It's like it's a shop telling you there's a promotion or something. You're like, no.
Hey, I got something interesting. I haven't even spoken to you about this. I got an email this morning from Peter Diamandis, the guy that created the X Prize. They put up $50 million to get for a civilian to put a rocket up into. They just needs to get out of the stratosphere, whatever it was. Yeah. I think it was 10 mil, and then they've since had bigger prizes. He's friends with Elon Musk, but he was talking about how like we're living in the information age. So this is like hot off the press. This guy this morning, and he reckons that there's actually something going on. It's becoming an inefficiency because there's too much information. So people are literally struggling from information overload. Yeah. And what they've done, this is the most interesting part, they tied a metric into it, like a financial metric. They reckon, and I don't know like how accurate it is, I had a quick skim, but it's costing $1 trillion a year. Wow. Information overload. Yeah.
Yeah, I believe that. I can see how that would happen. Like there's just too much out there, too many things,
too many choices.
Like it doesn't stop. The amount of emails that I get, and I'm sure you do too, of just random things coming to you all the time, constantly.
And you need like if you're going to work on a task, like if you want to write something, you need quiet space, uninterrupted time, and then your attention needs to be on the task ideally. So that's part of the thing as well. You can block, that's part of the attention management conversation. You can block out time to do a task. So you're going to block out an hour to do a quote. But if you've got distractions, your phone's pinging and ringing and you're checking emails, like how productive are you going to be versus switching all those things off and then really and preparing yourself to give 100% of your attention.
Yeah, no, it's a real thing in society right now. But we went off track just a little bit, so let's get back into it. Back on track. Look, I think there's two things that I wanted to talk to you about specifically, and the first one is really what is the roles or what are the roles of systems when we talk about inefficiency within for builders in a company.
So systems as they relate to eliminating inefficiency.
Yeah, exactly. Systems, and I'm talking about tools and systems. Yeah. Like there's so many things out there, apps. You're working with a few people.
So first up, there's no one panacea, right? There's no one solution, one size fits all solution for builders. It depends on the type of work, area of specialty, and then aspirations. How big do they want to get? That's going to impact the type of tools they use, but I've got to say there's never been a better time to be in business, right? There's never been better access to systems and, the cloud-based technology as well. I've spoken about it before, 2015, you could run your entire building company completely paperless, right? Yeah. So that means we get access to accurate real-time information, especially like your financial data, right? You can, once it's set up correctly, and that is so important with your job codes and cost codes, your ability to cost track is second to none. And that is like phenomenal. Plus, you've seen it yourself. You can data mine with your marketing, with the quality of the CRM and integration of marketing systems these days. You can trace every point of contact, including how many emails went out, how many emails were read, what links were clicked, DMs through Meta, whatever it is. Yeah. And that's phenomenal because that directs marketing spend. But if you're looking at the core tools or systems, pre-construction is the most important phase, right, of the construction process. So you've got your job scheduling tool, so programming the job before it starts, crucial, and then using that as a communication tool for clients and for subcontractors as well. But even further upstream, like your marketing, like your website, having a strong website presence that's communicating a very clear message, education-based message, ideally to a certain market. Mm-hmm. And then your costings. There's an education-based sales and marketing system that we use that ensures that you get the best behaved client, because an educated client is a better behaved client. And then proactive communication, like using tools to proactively communicate expectations, managing client expectations, especially during these days of price shock through the freaking roof. Like in that example I spoke about last time, right? It was just crazy town. So managing expectations, not only for clients, but also for the team and subcontractors, all of that, there's systems associated with that help optimize efficiency and it puts you in control, man. Yeah.
And then my next question is really about the sales process. So you talk a lot about the 6-step sales process.
Yeah.
And how the sales process is really the most inefficient part.
Biggest inefficiency.
Yeah, big inefficiency for builders. So tell us a little bit about it. What is it? What is it that you suggest in terms of this process?
So 6-step sales process, that's the day one conversation, right? With all our builders, precisely because sales is the biggest inefficiency. Most guys waste countless hours speaking to people they're never going to work with, or worse, going out and seeing them. Everyone listening would have had a situation where they turned up somewhere to meet with someone on site and they knew straight away they're never going to work with this person, but they ended up spending 40 minutes or an hour with them anyway out of politeness, because how do you just leave, especially if it's a lovely old lady or someone, right? But so they mark that up to marketing. That time was spent, I didn't damage my brand by being rude and leaving, and that's how they justify it. But really there's no need for that. So if we can create a system that not only eliminates all of that, but also puts your best foot forward. So what's the best possible outcome for your clients that quickly builds credibility and trust with them, gets them leaning in. So that's what the 6-step sales process does. It does it very quickly. The first step is a questionnaire. So, most guys get inquiry through phone or email, and they'll end up speaking to a prospective client. And if it's a real quality prospect, they're going to have a shit ton of questions, right? So they want to know, they're going to want to share everything they want to do, how much you think it's going to cost, how long is it going to take, blah, 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 blah. So the recommendation that we have is it's a 2-minute conversation, and we have the script where, some people can talk for 20, 30 minutes without taking a breath. I'm one of them, right? But you can you can literally interrupt someone while they're speaking and say, in order for us to help you best, we need as much information as possible. What I'm going to do is send you an email with some questions. Please answer them as best as you can. We need as much information as possible. Once we receive your information, we'll pass it on to our specialist builder. He'll review it, and then he'll give you a call to have a meaningful conversation about your project. So that's it there. That's step one. I mean, you got to ask yourself, what does that free up? Because we had a guy who we were working with, his sales process, he had 2 salespeople and him. Every phone call that came in, they booked a site visit and they went out and saw them straight away.
Wow. Yeah, okay.
So he started just doing the questionnaire thing. He got rid of his salespeople using our 6-step sales process, got rid of the salespeople, was charging for quotes, using prelims, increased his revenue and his conversion rate, and it took significantly less time just by using the sales process. Okay, just to give you an indication. So that's step one. Step two is an audition call. So most guys, when they get the questionnaire, if it looks good, so the person's in the location, that works in their wheelhouse, they'll drive out and see them, but you don't do that. You spend 40 minutes on a Zoom call, FaceTime call, have a conversation, run through, we've got a script, a series of questions to do a deeper dive to find out more about the client, who are they, what's their financial position, the scope of works, how they built before, were they happy with that builder, why are you talking to me, that sort of thing, you know what I mean? So you qualifying and extracting information. The extracting of information is really, really important. So if that goes well, then they book a site visit. All right. So that there is where they would eliminate people. By the way, not all the questionnaires come back from our test and measure 7 out of 10.
People dropping off at each step, right?
Yeah. And if when they drop off, you celebrate that. That's part of the process. The process is engineered to be attractive to quality clients, repulsive to tire kickers, right? Yeah. So audition call, step 2, that goes well, book a site visit 3 to 5 days out. And then within 3 minutes of finishing that call, send an email confirming the time and place of the site visit, and then a frequently asked questions PDF. This whole sales process is in our book resources, by the way. Anyone listening that wants to get hold of this, and we'll happily send you a copy of the book for free. Just jump on our website, you'll see get the book, and we'll pay for postage and handling as well. But that email FAQ, then you send a hard copy brochure as well. Yeah. So that educates the client. So, throw back to an educated client's a better behaved client. If they don't read it, then they're obviously not serious, are they? It's like you're going to go buy a new car and the guy's like, hey, I've got the brochure with the specs. And you go, no, it's okay. I'll just sell me anything. You're not buying, right? That's BS. And the day before the appointment, you send them an agenda as well, and that's really you taking control of the meeting. Your process, not theirs. And then an hour before you leave, send a text message. And that could be automated, by the way, as well through a great, email marketing system, CRM system. But that text is also just to ensure a no-show, because you probably had a no-show. We've all turned up somewhere and the person's not there because they had to go to their kid's school or something, right?
Yeah.
So over 12 months, you can just work out the hundreds of hours that sales process saves you. And then, if you want to go next level, I was speaking to a guy about this morning, you can take that entire sales process and plug it into a CRM system that also has email marketing functionality as well. Yeah. So that's it there in a nutshell. Like in terms of time, it frees up. Well, and then the outcome objective at the site visit is to sign people up. At that stage, you've got all the information you need to find out where the people are. If they're doing a renovation, remodel, or custom build, whether they've got their permits, plans, engineering. They either have or they haven't, or they're somewhere in between. Either way, you package up a solution for them to get all their documentation done quickly and well. And that's a prelim. Otherwise, if they've got everything done, it's just a case of costing it, and then you charge for a cost analysis. Yeah. And that's it there. They either pay you or they don't. If they don't pay you, that you exit there. Some people might take a couple of days to think about it and then pay and convert, but otherwise, it's the perfect process.
Awesome. To all our listeners, we've got a booklet, the 6-step sales process. You can get it directly on our website, builderscoach.com, or we'll put in the show notes also for everyone to download.
Is that a separate PDF?
Yeah.
Fantastic, yeah.
If they don't want to read the whole book, they can just get the small
Just
PDF.
get the PDF, yeah.
But we do recommend reading
version.
The book.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Kurt. I think that's really, really valuable for the builders out there. Last thing I want to talk about is charging for quotes.
Yes.
What's the deal with that? Why is it so important?
It's never been more important because of the price shock that's out there, right? So like here in Australia, and I know it's the same everywhere in the world, it's the same or similar, right? Build costs have gone up 53% in the last 3 years, so since January 21. And that's an article through a platform that's owned by Fairfax, right? And there's a Financial Review's got similar articles. Just look in your local area and you can find stats like that. So, there's a big company here in Australia, I forget the name now, it'll come to me, but they had $1 billion worth of work in play when they went under. And it was around, that 3-year period where there was a delay in documentation and permits getting done. Yeah. Porter Davis, that's a company. They signed contracts, fixed price contracts. Their margins, I don't know what their margins are. They'd be 15, 20% because they're a volume builder. Yeah. And the pricing, then they had another year to build. You got costs going up 50-something%. If the margins are 15, they're underwater, deep underwater. And so that's why it's, and by the way, the owner of that building company, apparently he's still worth about 40 mil, right? So he would have taken his money, stashed it. You hear these stories, and this is allegedly, right? But the clients suffered. Like they worked with a lot of first homeowners, young people in their 20s that put up maybe 200 grand. That's a lot of money for anyone, never mind young people, and they never got that money back, right? So it's devastating. So this is why it's so important for a builder to be financially sound, one, to be profitable, to have margins at a certain level. But your margin will never, ever impact the price. Your margin as a builder is not going to be the reason someone can't afford to build, right? So that's important to know. Your margin needs to be at least 20%, 25 markup, ideally a 25 margin or 33 markup. And then you need to get the client's budget to match what they actually spend. And if you want to do that, it's going to have to be done properly. You got to slow that estimating and quoting process down, and ideally work with people who are the best in the industry and get the numbers watertight, right? So our guys charge for quotes, then outsource or collaborate with some of the best estimators in the country, and that gives the client the best possible outcome. We're talking about like you're building for $1 million, you spend $3-4 grand to get the numbers right, so that you don't become a statistic like the guy we were talking about last time. I think I couldn't even keep a straight face telling that story. I'll tell you a story about the $2 million budget, 1.7 with a QS. It's a $7 million build, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the builder's got to go break the news to the person. And most people are like, they're going to shoot the messenger. They don't want to hear that news. I mean, they spent 12 months and $100,000 getting the design work done. So, you hear the story, 70% of designs not getting built. And I know an estimator who is fuming. He's fuming because apparently, and when you think about that example I just gave you, the person spent $100,000 with, and there was a $2 million build, but actually $7 million.
But $7, yeah.
Did that architect actually know that? Did they know? I mean, how dumb can they be? Like, they would know that's not a $2 million build. So do they just take $100,000 off someone because they needed $100,000, and then they go, oh, sorry, oh, geez, I don't know. Well, the builders, like, you know what I mean? Well, maybe not. You'd think, like, most people are good people, but sociopaths and psychopaths do exist, right? So maybe, that's happening out there as well, but there's no repercussions for them. There's no, hey, you got to refund the money. Hey, that's not cool. Surely you should go check. Surely you should be collaborating with a builder or an estimator or someone who knows the numbers. I mean, in that case, the guy went to a quantity surveyor, which you'd think would be accurate, but that came in at 1.7. So the level of incompetence. Sorry, what was your question?
I forgot my initial question, but I was going to say that it's really about managing expectations for the client, right?
Exactly. So managing expectation in terms of how build costs have surged lately, and then the importance of getting the numbers right and going through a proper process for accuracy with the numbers so that they don't become a statistic, right? Yeah. Because I'm only saying this with conviction because I'm seeing it every single day, right? Everywhere in the world, everywhere, right? Yeah. From like Tasmania to Minnesota. Yeah.
Great. That's great advice, and goes back, we were talking about charging for quotes and how important that is. I think that's it. Those are all my questions for today's episode. Kurt, thank you for all your advice.
You're welcome, Jess. Always a pleasure.
See you soon, guys.
See you on the next one. Take care.